Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 16 sacred choral works I couldn't live without. This is going to be an interesting list, I think, because, first of all, I'm not in the least bit spiritual, and second of all, I'm not in the least bit Christian. So you put all this stuff together, it's all Christian sacred music, and I adore it. Oh, I love it so much. So it just goes to show, these are the pieces of sacred music that I love because I just love the music. That's it. What they say is almost entirely irrelevant to me, although it matters to the extent that the music embodies the spirit of the text. And I do care about that very, very deeply. And these works all do it to the hilt. So you ready? I mean, here we go. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your list because it's obviously going to reflect some very highly personal considerations on your part. And feel free to indulge in those personal considerations. I have no problem with any of this. You can repeat composers. You don't have to pay attention to my list. It's about your particular preferences when you make your list. And there are things that are not on here, which I know will raise a few eyebrows. But don't do one of those, gee, I'm surprised you didn't talk about blank, blank, blank. What do you mean you're surprised? It's my list. It can be whatever I want it to be. You want to talk about those pieces? Put them on your list, but don't bother me. Anyway, here we go. First, Thomas Tallis, Spem in alium. You know, the greatest hit of 1588 or whatever year it was, or 1480 something, the 40-voice motet. One of the most extraordinary compositions of its era for 8 5-part choirs, and it's only like 9 minutes long or 10 minutes long. Oh, God, you can't live without it, seriously. And, you know, whatever you think about the words, or it doesn't matter. It just transports you to another realm. You know, the other realm could be wherever you want the other realm to be. It's another realm. Next, Lassus, the Prophetiae Sibyllarum. We've talked about this before, the Sibylline prophecies. I've mentioned this disc a few times, a few times. An extraordinary piece full of weird chromatic harmony and short movements, but they pack a lot of music into them. And they're really, really interesting musically and fun to listen to. There's nothing else like it in the repertoire until you get to like Gesualdo and those people. It's phenomenally beautiful. Josquin, the Missa Ave Maris Stella. Now, you could take any mass by Josquin, and it could be one of the most beautiful things you've ever heard in your entire life. They're gorgeous, incredibly wonderful pieces. But this one has always struck me. I don't know why. You know, it's Hail, Star of the Ocean is what that means. It's based on a motet or earlier work of that title, and gosh, it's just so beautiful and consoling and warm-hearted at the same time. I don't know. It's all wonderful polyphony, just voices intertwining ecstatically, and you can't get enough of it. And there are gorgeous performances of all the Josquin masses by the Tallis scholars on Gimel, so you can grab some of those. I mean, really, really amazing stuff. And there's so much music, I've said, from this period, that you can spend the rest of your life just listening to it, because it's the equivalent, especially mass settings, the equivalent of the symphony for 400 years or so. So there were thousands and thousands of these pieces, and sacred motets and other shorter works and psalm settings, and it's endless. But you got to draw the line somewhere, at least I do. And so those are the three biggies that I turn to repeatedly when I'm in the mood for this kind of music. There's lots of other stuff I listen to as well, but these were the ones that I couldn't live without. Handel, Dixit dominus. I love Dixit dominus because Handel is so theatrical. I've heard so many Baroque settings of this psalm. It is the bloodiest text you've ever heard in your life. I've talked about this before too. I mean, God is smiting and crushing and destroying and just splattering bodies all over the place. And usually the music is just so charming and nice, and not with Handel. Handel, it's a war chant. It's the rite of spring goes Baroque. It's pagan and primal, and it must have scared the hell out of him in Rome in 1707 or whenever it was that he wrote it. A great, 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 great work. Vivaldi's Gloria. It's a sentimental favorite. It's a sentimental favorite because I sang it when I was in high school with orchestra, and we all just adored it. And it was, and I sang it in college too, actually. We did it twice. And it's so catchy. It's Vivaldi, it's Domine Filii Unigenite, hey, 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 yay, hey, hey, hey. Oh, God, it's fun. Fun and delightful and not too fugal. I mean, there's a fugue in it. There is, but it's not one that we need to worry about. Particularly, it's all just really good tunes, and it's for strings and trumpet. And you feel so good when it's over. It makes you happy. And there's a lot to be said for that. Not all sacred music has to sound dismal or make you feel like you want to kill yourself. Or the other guy with the other religion, It's really, really a beautiful work. Bach, the B minor Mass. Oh, of course. Ever since I did that video called My Bach Problem, everyone says, well, we all know Hurwitz hates Bach. Nonsense. I don't hate Bach. I just don't like him all that much. And that doesn't mean that I don't admire certain works or find certain pieces to be incredible masterpieces or even love certain individual things. I just don't feel any obligation to like the whole kit and caboodle just because it's by Bach. I just don't. But when he's at his best, there's nothing better. And the B minor Mass is the apotheosis of Baroque choral writing, as Bach understood it, set to an eternal text, which was one of the few he could have chosen, which would allow his music to survive, because the cantatas were being used as lunch wrappers by everybody, and he knew that if he wanted the best of his music to be around after he died, he had to find a way. And the B minor Mass was the way, and it works. It's just one huge masterpiece after another. An amazing, amazing work, and I adore it. So there you go. Zelenka, the Missa Dei Filii. Oh, gosh, I love this piece, too. Zelenka is such a character. His music is so instantly identifiable and full of verve and character. He uses syncopated rhythms. He uses sort of Czech folk-like melodies. He uses Gregorian chants in the middle of things. He does all kinds of weird stuff. His phrasing is always in prime numbers. Nothing does what you think it's supposed to. The Missa Dei Filii is actually a Lutheran Mass. It's just a Kyrie and a Gloria. And even the Kyrie is quite short. What it really is a big jumbo Gloria that is the catchiest piece of music. Oh my God, it's fun to listen to. It sounds like Gollywog's Cakewalk set to liturgical music. It does. I'm not kidding. Listen to it. You'll see exactly what I mean. And it's just one enjoyable number after another, full of energy. His music has so much vigor. And it's all over in about half an hour, which is really a good deal. I don't know why this piece is not as popular as Bach's Magnificat or Messiah or any other Latin sacred piece from the Baroque period. It should be absolutely standard performance material. Maybe because it's difficult. I don't know. All I can tell you is there is nothing like it in the universe, and there are a couple really good recordings of it out there. Give it a listen. You will be very, very happy that you did. Then Haydn's Lord Nelson Mass. Ooh, the Mass in D minor with its original scoring for trumpets. There's four of them, I think. Four trumpets, I think. Timpani and organ and strings. Not with the fake woodwind parts that got added later by his pupil, Sigismund or Sigmund Neukomm, whatever his name was, who added the wind parts. It needs to be heard in its gaunt, scary original form because it's in D minor and it's turbulent and thrilling and dramatic and exciting and dynamic and it was considered noisy. Haydn was considered a noisy composer in his day because he was so exciting. He gave the music such impetus, such a pulse. And even he said, I can't help it, especially when I'm writing sacred music. It just makes me happy, and I just do my thing, and God will forgive me. I think that was a very healthy attitude. I really do. Bruckner, the Te Deum. Gosh, is this one of the most primal pieces of music anyone's ever heard? It's all open fourths and fifths. Yeah, da 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 da. It must be the most boring piece of music to play if you're a violinist of anything anybody ever wrote. unless it's something else by Bruckner, because it's all tremolos and ostinatos and all that, and the text is almost entirely in unison at the opening anyway. It's like a gigantic Gregorian chant with it blows you away. Everyone who heard it was just dazzled by it. Mahler, who did the piano transcription, which must have been the most boring job in the world, thought that it was just insanely fabulous and performed it. And it doesn't get played as much as it should. Te Deum settings are not as popular as Requiem settings, mostly because they're shorter. I always used to say that somebody ought to just do a Te Deum concert. They should do the Haydn Te Deum, the Bruckner Te Deum, the Dvořák Te Deum, and the Verdi Te Deum. That would make a perfect program, choral music program. And they're very, very different settings. They're all just very hopeful and enjoyable. It would be just so much fun to see somebody do that. But, that's me. It's great. Verdi, the Requiem. Of course, the Verdi Requiem. Possibly the most thrilling setting of that text that anybody ever dreamt up. And I'm entirely for it. I think it's phenomenal. What do I need to say about the Verdi Requiem? You all know. Gounod, his Saint Cecilia Mass. What a beautiful work. That's another one that never gets played. The credo is so much fun. It sounds like a Beatles song. It really does. It has that boogie-woogie bass. Deum. Incredible. Just a great piece. A great piece that no one cares about because French liturgical music is supposed to be in bad taste. That's what everyone tells us. It's not sacred somehow enough or serious enough. It's syrupy and it's tuneful and lovely, and you really go home happy again. And it's a great piece. So the Gounod Saint Cecilia Mass is on my list for sure. Janáček, wait, we're not there yet. Dvořák, his Te Deum, another Te Deum. See, I kind of like the happy side of these religious pieces rather than the dismal side. I mean, great requiems are great, and there's a lot of them, really tons of them. But I like to go to the more cheerful end of things. And the Dvořák Te Deum is so different from Bruckner's, and it's a wonderful, wonderful work. It begins with pounding timpani and it's in a 2 versus 3 rhythm, and it's catchy as hell. Te Deum laudamus, Te Dominum confidemur, da 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 da. It's got percussion. It's got cymbals and bass drum and triangle. Oh gosh, it's just a joy, and nobody knows it. It doesn't ever get performed. I've never seen it played. Actually, Shaw did a recording for Telarc, thank God. But other than that, all the recordings are on Superfund. There's one on Naxos that's quite good as well. So it's starting to break into people's consciousness. But it's just so much fun. I think people think it's just too healthy and happy to be religious. I mean, that must be what it is. Janáček's Glagolitic Mass, of course, the late choral masterpiece. Everybody should know. Just the most exciting setting of the Mass that anybody ever wrote. Period. Janáček also was another one who was, setting it not because he was religious, but because he wanted to embody the spirit of the nation in eternal text. So many can listen. Bernstein can write a Mass, or Stravinsky can write a Mass. That's the idea. You use those words because those words guarantee that at least the music probably won't be completely forgotten. Well, Janáček's is certainly unforgettable, so that's definitely high up on my list. Then we've got, the Duruflé Requiem. Gosh, in the full orchestral setting, by the way, with the tam-tam, that it's all based on Gregorian chant. It's just 40 minutes of glorious modal harmony. And I like it so much better than the Fauré Requiem. I know. It usually gets coupled with that. But Duruflé wrote like 2 pieces of music, and he wrote this piece like 5 times. There's the version for organ and choir. Then there's the version for small ensemble and choir, and then there's the underwater version, and there's the outer space version, and there's the full orchestral version, which is the one you got to listen to. Gosh, it's beautiful. You don't even bother with the words. It just floats over you like some sort of spiritual essence I just adore it. Poulenc, his Stabat Mater. Now, I know the most popular Poulenc, sacred work is his Gloria. And I could have done an a cappella work. I could have chosen the Christmas motets, but I wanted something a little bigger, just a little bigger. And I think the Stabat Mater is really an unacknowledged masterpiece. It's extremely moving. It's, it's a text that people don't talk about as much because it's very sad. It's the Virgin Mary weeping at the foot of the cross as Jesus is being crucified, and it's a reflection on her emotions as a mother. But it's just such a deeply affecting poem, and an incredibly affecting setting that Poulenc wrote. It's in a bunch of short little movements, and they're exquisite, absolutely exquisite, and a joy to listen to. Get the Ozawa recording of it, which is perfect, really just perfect. The way it's paced, and it's somewhat slightly cool approach to the words and to the setting, because that's Poulenc. He was post-Stravinsky, and it wasn't that the emotion isn't there, it is, but it's expressed in a way which is you're supposed to sort of be able to enter it and be a little bit removed from it at the same time, which makes it all the more touching, I think. It's just a devastatingly wonderful work. And last but not least, well, this is a little bit controversial, maybe, Holst, the Hymn of Jesus. It's not strictly a sacred work. I mean, it's Holst's own translation from the Greek original. It uses a lot of the word fain, which fain would I be eaten. It means I really would like something. I don't know why anyone would use fain for anything, but that's okay. Aside from the fains, it's an extraordinary spiritual experience. It's a sacred work in outer spacey terms. If you know the planet's outer space music, you hear it here as well, only in a sacred context, which tells us what I've always said about, how does sacred music become spiritual and transcendental? Well, it does it by embodying humanity in multiple voices, a greater than human vocal presence, and by writing music which is alien, which is somehow, not typically vocally expressive in like, an opera aria. And that's one of the ways, anyway, that music, achieves that sort of feeling of transcendence. And this is a piece that really does it. Now, you could argue that it's a secular work, because you'll see that when I talk about sacred choral works, there's like no Handel oratorios here. I'm really talking about liturgical music. Handel's oratorios are, as far as I'm concerned, secular works. They were designed for performance in theaters, and they were played that way. So they'll pop up, but I've got another talk on secular choral music, and Handel figures prominently there, but the Dixit dominus is a Latin liturgical work, so I thought it was more appropriate in this category. But like all these categories, they're a little fuzzy. And so I'm not going to be tremendously picky about, your definition of sacred versus secular, as long as it's go crazy, doesn't get ridiculous, because most of this, after the end of the 18th century, or mid 19th century, most of this stuff was meant for concert performance, even though technically they're sacred works. Remember Rossini's Petite Messe Solennelle, the Verdi Requiem, and things like that. They were banned. They could not be performed in churches because women participated, and so they were designed as concert works, and that's what they've remained ever since. So let's sort of take it with that in that spirit, and I'll turn you loose. And remember, don't worry about what's on my list. Worry about your own. Let's see your list of 16 sacred choral works that you can't live without. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.